Welcome, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Mary Ann Hensley. I'm the Vice President of Media Operations here at FreightWaves, and we're happy to present today's webinar in partnership with Turvo. Today, you'll be hearing how collaboration can help to increase efficiencies throughout the supply chain so you can deliver amazing customer experiences. I'll be joined by Ketan Karkhanis, Chief Product Officer at Turvo, and Kendra Phillips, who serves as Chief Technology Officer and Vice President of New Products for Ryder System. We'll also have a live Q&A with both speakers following the discussion. And before we get started, just a couple of quick items. First, if you have any issues during the webinar, you can reach out to our team via the audience chat function in your webinar console. And if you have questions that you would like to ask our speakers, you can enter those through the Q&A box in your console, and we'll answer as many of those as possible during the live audience Q&A after the discussion. We'll also be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar tomorrow if you'd like to view it on demand or share it with your colleagues. And at this point, I'd like to go ahead and welcome Ketan and Kendra. Welcome, guys. I'd love to hear a little bit about you. So maybe Kendra, if you'd like to go first and just introduce yourselves to the audience.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. My name is Kendra Phillips. As it was said, I'm the CTO and VP of New Products for Ryder. I've been at Ryder over 14 years, so quite a while. I've always been in the supply chain and logistics side of the business, but I've been fortunate enough to hold quite a variety of roles. I've been in the strategy group, in sales, and I've run operations. So I ran our dedicated operations for the Southeast United States, and then most recently in this role. So I really have had a variety of opportunities, and I've really had a great time and enjoyed my career here at Ryder.
Awesome. And Ketan, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey, first, thank you so much for hosting us, and a warm hello and welcome to all the FreightWaves community and everybody on the webinar today. So glad you guys could join us. I'm Ketan Karkhanis, Chief Product Officer at Turvo. I joined Turvo around a year ago, and I run product engineering and customer success for Turvo. Prior to that, spent 10 years at Salesforce. And very excited to talk to you all about, actually have a conversation about how do we reimagine the supply chain. So looking forward to a great interaction. And Kendra, so glad you could join us for this meeting. We are very grateful. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. And now that we're kind of coming out of 2020, looking into 2021 here already somehow in Q2, Kendra, tell us a little bit about what's happening at Ryder and what prompted your partnership with Turvo.
Sure. Ryder is a logistics and supply chain company. We are excellent at running our customers' operations, but our industry has been going through very significant technological change. And our company's objective is to be a leader in that technical change and to bring the value of that to our customers. And we're working to do that in many different ways. And one of those is through key partnerships with companies that are best in their field. And that's really why we selected Turvo. And we work with Turvo on a product called Ridershare. It's our customer-facing product that digitizes the supply chain. And we partnered with Turvo because their product is truly differentiated. It allows Ryder to provide an enhanced customer experience to our customers and to our customers' customers through Ridershare.
Yeah, and to add on to what Kendra said, I mean, there was a key word in her talk track is digitize the supply chain. I think so that's really important, and followed by the customer. And we are very excited and quite honestly grateful and honored to be part of this partnership, because we believe the supply chain needs to be unified. And the last year has shown a light on the acceleration of the digitization that needs to happen. It's no longer an option, it's an imperative. And Ryder is leading the way, and we are so glad to be part of that technology partnership with them to help them accelerate the digitization of the supply chain.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Ketan, for that. And for both of you, kind of moving forward, what do you see as the vision for the Ryder Turvo partnership?
Yeah, I'll start. I think we have a great partnership. I love working with Ketan. We love to brainstorm together and really try to push the boundaries of the product. And I think what's unique and what's interesting is we each have very different strengths, right? So as I said, we have our strength in supply chain logistics. We provide that service at Ryder across numerous industries, and we provide it across numerous services in the supply chain. So we have a broad breadth of experience, and we see that from a lot of different views. So being able to bring our experience and our customers' experience to the table, understand the pain points, and then really work with Turvo in the areas that they're experts to create a product that continues to evolve and develop and really start to tackle a lot of the key pain points in the industry. And as Ketan had said a minute ago, I mean, this year really, I think everyone knew that there was a lot of low-hanging fruit and a lot of challenges, a lot of areas to be digitized in the supply chain industry. But this year brought that to light more than ever. It really showed the places that were vulnerable and how data isn't really shared, right? Today, everyone has their own silo. They see their own pieces of information in their supply chain, but it's hard to have one place where you have a holistic view across that supply chain. And that's what Turvo and that's what Ryder are trying to do with our products. And so as we look forward, we're very, very focused on solving those industry challenges together and bringing the digital product to the marketplace that can help us solve our customers' problems. So, Ketan, I don't know what you might want to add to that.
I know it's you kind of, as always, I look forward to your advice. It's all those critical points you mentioned, and perhaps a framework, if I may offer to all the viewers, is, one of the key reasons I am so excited about our Ryder partnership and the work we do together is the philosophy Ryder espouses, and that is a customer-first philosophy. Yes, everybody in the supply chain is worrying about margins and operating cost and running late and this and that and this and that. And there are 50,000 other small things you could be worried about. But Ryder has put the customer in the center. They have focused their innovation around how do we serve our customers better? How do we give them a digital interface to interact with us? And Turvo helps them do that, but that is the driver. We are going to keep innovating a lot, but it's important to always be grounded on why are you doing this? What is the company business outcome you are trying to achieve? And that's something which I feel I have been very impressed in our relationship with Ryder is it's the customer. It's the customer experience. It is how are we giving our customers the best experience? How are we connected to our customers? And that's what Turvo is trying to innovate with Ryder on. So I'll give you a simple example. We all talk about visibility all day long, and that's fine. The world has actually moved into visibility 2.0, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in the webinar later today. But simple interactions from how can a customer raise an issue? And are you giving them a digital interface to log an exception? How are we automating those workflows with our customers? How are we giving them a holistic view of their entire business so that our customers can spend all their time worrying about their customers rather than worrying about that one shipment which they are trying to focus on? So the entire center of gravity for innovation is around the customer. And all our innovations coming into this year are going to be focused around that. And frankly, I have Ryder to thank us because they've kind of grounded us on that. So thank you, Kendra.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting what you say, because I think it's a key piece of the value of the Turvo platform. One of the things our customers love when they use Ridershare is it can be really configured specific to their job function and what drives efficiency for their job function. And that's the beauty of the platform that you've built. And so we know when we go into a customer, we're bringing Ridershare to the table, based on the role the various players are at the customer play, how to configure Ridershare and Turvo to get them the most value. And that's unique. Not a lot of, or really any other platform that I know out there today can do that. And so it immediately gets the customer into Ridershare and Turvo, and it immediately brings them value on day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
We talk a lot about, how much the industry has evolved and really the need to be able to evolve with it. And that customer experience focus is certainly one that requires a transformation. So with your partnership with Turvo, where does that fit within Ryder's own transformation journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way you're phrasing it. It is absolutely a transformation journey, and I would call it a technical transformation journey, which again is not always been at the forefront of most companies when you talk about a supply chain or logistics or their operations. And for Ryder, Turvo is a very important piece of our journey and an important partnership that we have. And I think one thing that both companies are focused on is how do we take the conversation around a supply chain today that tends to be looked at as a cost center? How do we change that and really shift it to a customer differentiator? And when I say that, I don't mean for Ryder's customers, I mean for Ryder's customers, right? How does it become a differentiator, a key tool that drives additional customer value for our customers? We saw that play out a lot in the pandemic, for example. There were everyone had to become nimble overnight, right? Everything changed overnight in every company's supply chain. And the companies that were able to be nimble, that were able to react, they actually were able to bring new customers to the table. And those who were stuck, those who couldn't react fast enough, lost customers. And that's the importance of the supply chain. So when Ketan's saying, hey, we think about a customer first, it's really along those lines, right? How do we continue to transform the supply chain and the digitization of that supply chain so that we continue to enable our customers to capture more customers and to drive more value and to start looking at that supply chain as an enabler instead of just a cost center. So I think we'll continue to see that. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit, a lot of opportunity, and the more we digitize the supply chain, the more we're going to be able to capture those opportunities. So we really see it as a continuous journey that will go on for a very long time, and having key partners who we can sit down and really ideate with and bring that value forward immediately is very powerful for us, and that's what Turvo is.
And the agility point, very often if technology is not fueling agility, you're investing in the wrong technology. For us, technology needs to drive business agility. I'll give you a very simple example. This is actually quite simple, but we keep going back to the events of the last year. And suddenly overnight, everybody had to work from home. All of Turvo customers did not blink an eyelid, because Turvo is cloud first. You can run your entire supply chain from your phone right here. This is such a simple concept, but the idea of transformation is not just about a innovative, great new feature, but I feel one of the transformation curves this industry needs to latch on to is all of the technology in the supply chain. Some of it is still stuck in 1980s and 1990s, is the cloud transformation. And you start with the cloud transformation, and then you deliver innovation services on top of that cloud, all centered around how do we give a better customer experience. So my perspective is always like, if technology is not driving agility, you might as well use pen and paper.
Yeah, amazing point. And Kendra, I guess kind of going back to Ridershare, you have alluded to that, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about, what it is and what it's really helped you all be able to accomplish.
Sure. As I said earlier, Ridershare is really our product that digitizes the supply chain. And when we say that, what we're talking about is the end-to-end supply chain. So simplistically, right, transportation inbound, inside the four walls of a warehouse, outbound for delivery, really being able to see across all of that. And when I say see, it's real-time data and the ability to act on that real-time data. And then our other goal with Ridershare is the ability to break down the silos in a supply chain amongst various players or partners in the supply chain. So how do you have a supplier who can see and act on the same information as the shipper, who can see and act on the same information as the carrier and the end customer? right? So how do you bring all those parties together and let them see the same information at the same time and react to it? That's when it becomes really powerful, and that's when it's really differentiated. And that's what Turvo's product does. So we brought that into Ridershare and able to bring that forward to our customers, along with data analytics and data science, really trying to get predictive on our customer supply chain so that we can add additional value to them, help them streamline their operations. So Ridershare is our customer-facing platform that combines Turvo's best-in-class technology and our data analytics and data science and some Ryder proprietary technology together to bring that value forward to our customers. And it's all about breaking down those silos and driving those getting rid of those inefficiencies that exist today, and doing that real time. And another great feature is collaboration. And Ketan alluded to this before, but in platform, you can actually collaborate across players. So a carrier can collaborate with a shipper, can collaborate with a supplier. They can talk, they can message, they can look at information together. So when issues arise, they're able to come together and solve that, looking at the same data, reacting to the same data. It gets rid of all those little games of telephone and email where you're talking past each other or not looking at the same information. It really allows you to be effective immediately. And our customers are reacting to that. They're seeing that value, they're getting that value, and they're loving it.
In breaking down silos, we all think about that all day long as leaders in our company. And it's even more profound in the supply chain ecosystem. Because let me be provocative for a second out here, right? Think about it this way. Just step back and think about this. More than 75-80% of the people and organizations that are involved in your supply chain are actually not part of the four walls of your company. They are people outside. They are service providers down and up the ecosystem. And all of them need to be synchronized to move just one thing from point A to point B. And we do all that synchronization with phone calls and emails, and maybe even people use fax machines. But the idea that all participants of the supply chain need to be on a unified digital network, allowing seamless real-time access to interchange data, is a profound idea. And that's what Turvo is all about, is creating that network. And in Ryder's case, that network is Ridershare. And that network is powering everybody to be on the same page. Turvo unifies your supply chain. It digitizes your business process. But the heart of doing that creates this collaboration fabric that allows a carrier, a service provider, a shipper, a 3PL, a freight forwarder, and everybody in between to be on that same data record, seeing all the things happening and interacting with them. And I think so that because breaking down silos cannot be, let's build more processes. Breaking down silos involves, let's deploy a disruptive technology to bring everybody on the same page. And that's what Ryder has done.
Excellent point. And kind of on the, on the industry side, we see one thing, but I would love to hear too, Kendra, what do you feel that the partnership and the rollout of Ridershare really means for your customers?
Yes, I mentioned earlier our customers are loving it, but I'll give you one example. So when the pandemic hit, we had a customer, Do It Best, who sold 40 years of hand sanitizer in 9 months. So you can imagine what that did to their supply chain, right? They used to have a fairly static supply chain, one that was fairly predictable. Folks knew what to expect, and that changed instantly, huge spikes. And they will tell you that without Ridershare, they never could have managed that as they did. They were able to deliver an exceptional experience, even with everything going on. And the way they did that is what Ketan just described, right? So they could actually see where product was, they could plan real time, and then they could communicate any changes via Ridershare to their customers, and their customers are stores. So, a store might typically get a delivery on every Tuesday, but now they're getting all this hand sanitizer and other products, every single day of the week. And they all had to work together. It had to be a highly coordinated effort to make this successful. And Ridershare was really the instrument, the platform behind the scenes enabling that. So DoItFast could communicate with all of their customers, their stores, let them know what product was coming, when it was going to arrive, what to expect, and they could be prepared for that. And the stores, some of them were even communicating that out to their customers. So it's a simple example, but it's a very true example of the value that the platform brings. And that's what our customers are seeing is it's not adding process. I think Ketan said that well, right? We're not adding a bunch of process or red tape or checkpoints. We're really bringing the key information to the surface and letting people be aware of that in a very transparent manner. So that's the power of it.
Excellent. And obviously, this is going to have kind of a huge impact on the customer experience as well. So I guess in addition to kind of the example that you just provided, what other impacts have you seen on customer experience, and how do you expect that to kind of continue in the future?
So we're continuing to see value added. We're discovering new areas of value every day. And what's really important is whether you're in a B2B or B2C environment, that end customer experience is extremely important to you in differentiating your product and your company. And one of the things, I'll give you another example, that Ridershare does is we've seen a 50% efficiency creation or reduction of inefficiency at our customers who have customer service centers. So with Ridershare now, with Turvo, those customer service employees are able to have the information they need at their fingertips when their customers call in wondering, where's my order? Where, do you have this item in stock? What's happening in my inventory, shipments? All of that information can be answered immediately. Whereas before, it tended to be a series of emails or phone calls to try to get an update that was real time. And even then, you didn't know how real time that update was. So what we're seeing for some of our customers is if they have a customer service department, they're gaining a 50% efficiency with the Ridershare Turvo product. And that's not only is that, obviously money in their pocket, but imagine that customer satisfaction and getting an accurate, timely answer the moment you call versus waiting for someone to hopefully get back to you. And it could be hours and hours later. So it's again, a large value driver.
Yeah, it's those and those countless other micro improvements. One thing I always advise my customers as we think about transformations, transformations can be big, hairy, and can be intimidating, right? You're like, oh my God, that's a 5-year transformation journey and it's super intimidating. But I feel like the agility point, and most importantly, focusing on doing the basics incredibly well and notching up those small victories along the way accelerates that transformation journey. Whether you start from ability to exceptions to, all the things that you want to do with your customer, you're basically having a modular approach to the transformation. And I think so it's very important for viewers and everybody listening in to not feel intimidated that this is going to be a 5-year journey. No, actually, you could get something meaningful out there in 3 months if you chose to. That's the power of technology when you use it to transform the business. And that's what we at Turvo are focused on, is make it simple, make it easy, make it complete. For us, it's about focusing on those 3 principles.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I mean, when we deploy Turvo's product, there isn't a huge training required. There isn't a huge learning curve. It's very intuitive, very easy to understand. Customers are able to get a hold of it really quickly and immediately see the value from it. So the way they've designed it, it brings the information you need as a consumer up to the forefront, which is really the beauty behind the product.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. And then kind of based on some of the early results that you've seen, if you could share those, like how do you expect this to impact Ryder going forward?
Yeah, I've been blown away, honestly, by our early results. It's been pretty incredible. Just a few examples. We're currently in the process of onboarding a customer who is bringing into the platform 700 of their customers. And let me put that into context. Those customers are going to come in, they're going to have their own view or tenant of the platform, and they're only going to have the information pertinent to them. So they will see their orders, their inventory, their shipments, but what's pertinent to them. And then the other customer will only see what's pertinent to them, right? That ability to have, Ryder in the platform, our customer, the shipper in the platform, and then 700 of their customers in the platform, all only seeing the information we need. There's nothing else that does that in the industry. And this customer, I can't name them, but they're thrilled, right? They're really thrilled about being able to provide that type of service to their customer, and again, 700 of their customers. Another customer that we are deploying Ridershare with is actually bringing in 75,000 users to receive notifications. So they're not going to all be going into the platform, but they're going to be getting notifications out of the platform. 75,000, that is a huge number of people we were able to touch with the Turvo Ridershare product. And again, drive value for all of those people with real-time, accurate information about what's going on in their supply chain. So those are two cases where when I really sit down and look back on where we were, a year ago versus where we are today, and then where we're going to be going, that, really impressed me that we're having such an impact on our customers with this product. And then I'll give you another example. We have a customer who has retail stores across the US on almost every corner. And they have store managers who meet their trucks when they come to bring their product in. These trucks usually arrive early morning, like between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. And so the store managers will get up early on those days and come in and wait for that truck. And historically, they know the truck's going to arrive between 4 and 8, but they don't know when. Is it arriving at 4? Is it arriving at 8? Is it arriving late, coming at 9 or 10? They don't know. So they get there and they wait. And not only is it the store manager, but they also bring in additional labor to unload the truck. With Ridershare Turvo, we are now sending those store managers text messages when the truck is an hour away. So that person can stay asleep, not bring in additional labor, and then when the truck's actually going to arrive, they can get up, get out of bed, and go meet the truck and bring the labor in. So not only are you driving a better experience for those store managers, you're actually saving costs on all that labor that's been sitting around. And we're seeing on average at point of receipt about a 35% efficiency gain in labor savings from scenarios very similar to that. So we're getting very tangible cost saving results for our customers. And we're also at the same time providing a better experience for their customers. So it's really the best of both worlds. And that's the power of the product.
35% efficiency. I'm going to make a t-shirt out of it, right? No, but it's such an important point. Again, all these examples Kendra is giving you, they are what I call vectors of a collaboration platform. What you're doing at that instance is, without even that store manager in some city somewhere knowing about it, you're collaborating with them and you're giving them timely information and making that interaction 10 times more productive and efficient for all parties involved. That's what we mean by collaboration. Collaboration for us does not just mean sending somebody a chat message or something like the Slack way. For us is doing meaningful work together in a digital way. That's how we define collaboration. And we have these countless workflows we can enable on the platform. I love that. I love that story of the store manager. God alone knows I don't want to wake up and go somewhere at 4 a.m. and wait for a truck for 4 hours. Like, I don't want to do that. So very happy to be part of making the store manager's life easy.
Exactly.
Excellent. And so as we kind of look toward the future, Kendra, what do you feel is next and where do you see Ridershare a year down the road?
Yeah, we're at a really fun point with the product. So when Ryder first went down this path, and we said we're creating Ridershare, we're digitizing the supply chain, and we picked Turvo to partner with, we had a very long roadmap of things we wanted to accomplish. And at the end of this year, we're going to be there. We'll have accomplished everything on our initial roadmap and really brought that end-to-end supply chain visibility that is so important to us and so important to the service we provide our customers. So saying that, what's neat is now we get to say, okay, we've accomplished our main goals. Where do we go from here? To your question earlier, how do we continue to transform and drive that change? And so there's some areas that Ketan and I have been playing around with and talking about. One is IoT, the Internet of Things. That we have, obviously, or Turvo has a lot of sensor data already in the platform, but that space is growing so quickly. And one of my things I spend a lot of time thinking about and studying and trying to understand is what is the latest IoT technology out there? How can we bring that into the platform and use that to add further value or to break down even more of these barriers or silos that exist? Today, I'll give you an example. When it's a Ryder dedicated fleet with a Ryder truck and a Ryder driver, the amount of real-time data I can give our customers is so much more expansive than when I'm putting it on a carrier because I have another silo, right? I'm bringing another player into the mix. I can get good real-time information, but not the breadth of data I can get with a Ryder-owned fleet and driver. So is there IoT technology out there that can help break down that barrier and allow me to get just as much information from the carrier real-time as I can out of our own fleet? So those are some of the things we'd love to tackle. And then I think another area that we've started talking about and started exploring is going further downstream into the supply chain. There's so many black holes or blind spots as you go further and further and further down. You get to the manufacturers and key raw material providers. How do we bring them even more into the fold and remove even more of those blind spots and use that to drive more value for our customers? So again, I think there's an unlimited area of play here, but really want to focus on some hopefully additional low-hanging fruit that we can start to transform and capture that value on. But Ketan, I don't want to speak for you. I'm not sure your thoughts here.
This sounds like our usual brainstorming meeting when you are like bringing up 3 points and we are like, okay, let's go get it done. Like that's how it's like.
Do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow. No, I just would like to add on. There's one point I want to reflect about the culture of this relationship too. I mean, I know we are spending time on transformation and technology, but it's important to have a partner that you can really trust. And our relationship gives us is like, I sometimes joke, with Kendra, is like all my best ideas are not mine. They are like Kendra's and Ryder's. They are fueling a lot of this innovation in our brains. And we are really innovating together. Now, whether we are going to go down IoT, whether we are going to go down upstream deeper into the black hole of the dark corners of the supply chain, or we are also very actively considering and debating, actually experimenting, if you may, with the concept of proactive actionability. Turvo has always been about not just about visibility, but actionable visibility, right? When you see something, you should be able to do something with it. Otherwise, what's the point of seeing it? Now, imagine you see something going wrong and you can't do anything about it. Then, okay, thank you. What should I do about it? Nothing. What Turvo does with Visibility 2.0 is brings all this together. But now what we want to think about is, okay, how can we make it more proactive? How can we make it such that AI and ML are driving those insights to you where you work, such that you are only focused on things that need attention. And when you see them, you're getting a proactive recommendation of how to solve that issue. So we are investing a lot in that area. We are also very focused on, sometimes we say like on the aspect of bringing sustainability in a meaningful way to our conversations. not just lip service, but things like our appointment scheduling, which reduce drivers waiting out in the dock by 2 hours every day. Well, that's a lot of trucks not idling, which is great. That's sustainability. So a lot of great ideas. Our biggest problem is we have too many of those. So the toughest meetings I have with Kendra is prioritization. So we would love to hear from you. What should we prioritize more? Kendra, we might get some good suggestions.
I love it. Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for the discussion. I think everyone had a lot to learn, and I can tell by the questions that have rolled in so far, everyone is super curious and has really enjoyed this. At this point, we would like to go ahead and address some of those questions from the audience. So if you've not submitted those yet, you can do so through the Q&A box in your webinar console. The first question I have for you here, Kendra, it says, Kendra made an excellent point about the supply chain and the need for it to be unified. Can you share with us how you're doing it with the rest of the industry participants?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, right? I'm probably making it sound easy. Certainly a very challenging piece. Ryder has another area of focus we call Ryder Connect, and that's just our fancy word for our APIs. So we are developing and have developed very specific APIs with user portals that make it really easy and efficient for our partners or our customers' partners in the supply chain to connect with us. So we've been very focused on that strategy. There's other components as well, because not all of, a lot of folks in supply chain logistics are not necessarily ready for that type of technology. So another approach we have is we do partner with a lot of different data aggregators out in the market, from everything from telematics to fleet data, whatever it may be, players who are aggregating that data. We're partnered with them as well to bring that in. Our goal as a company is to make it as easy as possible for anyone who we partner with in the supply chain or our customers partner within the supply chain to connect with us. So that's our goal and our objective, and we try to do that again through the API Ryder Connect, and then also through partnerships with aggregators. I will say, and I'll let Ketan talk, I know Turvo also has a very similar strategy, and so we leverage them when we can as well. So Ketan, I don't know if you want to add to that.
You hit upon all the key points. Is an API first approach, a open approach to data, and more importantly, going back to the concept of this digital network that I talked about. Bringing more participants on in your supply chain is as easy as sending them an invite to join your network. Just think about it that way. Conceptually, your supply chain is a network. And the participants are individuals, which in this case are organizations, and you want to collaborate with them, we are making it as easy as sending them an invite, and they get a Turvo tenant, which is basically they get a login. And now you can start doing business with them. And the foundation of it is always, of course, API first. So that would be my answer to that.
All right, perfect. And next question, is this an open source platform, or how do other companies or other shippers tap into it, into their own systems? And also, can you give some specific examples about the pieces that have been digitized?
I can take the first part of it, and then maybe Kendra can jump into the other part. It's not an open source platform, at someday maybe. How do other companies and shippers tap into it? Well, it's very easy. It's as easy as signing up for Turvo and then creating your network on it. We are here to help you in that journey. And Turvo has this philosophy of open integration. So you can integrate Turvo back to all your backend systems, legacy, TMS, and all that kind of stuff. As far as what are the specific pieces that have been digitized, I'll give you 2-3 simple examples. Ship visibility, order to cash visibility is a very important. Like I think of visibility 2.0. Visibility 1.0 was the early 2000. We have Turvo has disrupted and moved into visibility 2.0, which is order to cash visibility. That is one way of digitizing. So you're eliminating those phone calls, or even those legacy customer portals, if you may. A lot of customers have these shipper portals. You can let go of all of that. Appointment scheduling, payments, analytics, exception handling. You can go on and on with the list of microprocesses that can be digitized, and we plan to keep building more. Kendra, if you want to add on to the digitization narrative, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on a lot of it. We also do a lot with documents, right? Especially at point of delivery, so real-time uploading that information. For us at Ryder, the exceptions has been a big piece, and the way we interact with our carriers and our network. So we've really been able to digitize that relationship, get the information from them, not only just tracking information, but if there is an exception, if something's going wrong, how are we collaborating with them to get that information? And again, instead of having a bunch of phone calls and emails and chasing people down, right? So I think you said it right. There's a lot of different little micro pieces, and when you bring them all together, it creates a very powerful story.
All right, great. And next question for you guys: approximately how many different systems, whether it's WMS, TMS, CX, et cetera, are you integrating in the back end and empowering with Turvo?
So should I answer? I guess I can answer that specific to Ryder. So at Ryder, what we've done is we've laid Ridershare and Turvo over our execution systems. And we have many of them depending on what service we're providing for our customers. So, you know, we have a standard WMS, we have a few different standard TMSs, we have a brokerage platform. So Ridershare is integrated into and laying over all of those. And what it does for us is it then brings all of that combined data to the forefront in one view, and really eliminates even our internal silos. I was talking about silos before across supply chain partners, but it eliminates our internal silos. So we've done that. That's been a key part of our partnership with Turvo.
Yeah, I mean, single pane of glass does not have to be a utopian dream. It's actually possible, and you can do it very quickly. Because our philosophy is integrate with everything that you need to complete the customer journey. As WMS, backend data marts. We have customers who have integrated, I don't know, dozens of their WMSs, dozens of TMSs. You never have one, you have more than one. And our philosophy is grounded in our API first approach and our integration hub strategy. So short answer, we can unify your supply chain for you.
Excellent. And next question: who is responsible for the initial data entry into the Turvo system, and who maintains the data storage?
I can take a stab at it. Maybe I'm not fully understanding the question, and I think so it's Michael Herson. Sorry about that, Michael. The Turvo journey starts by you creating a network and a customer experience strategy for your customers. Now, in order to do that, if you're going to build, I'll take a very simple example. If you're going to do your shipment execution in Turvo, well, then you're directly entering that data in Turvo, or maybe connecting it to your ERP, or maybe having some other elements flowing into it. But if you're doing your execution, like in the case of Ryder, the TMS is a different system and Turvo is integrating to it, then the data is flowing from the TMS into Turvo, and all the additional processes are done in Turvo. Who maintains the data storage? Well, Michael, we are a 100% cloud native company, which means you don't have to worry about storage. You don't have to worry about servers and upgrades and all those networks and everything. That is on us. We do all that. And yes, that is a big part of my day.
All right, great. And next question, I believe for Kendra here: how did you build interest internally for a customer experience initiative?
It's a great question. So what we did, we really focused on the value that Ridershare would bring our customers. And by focusing on that, it made it a lot easier to sell it internally. So starting with that customer, the Ryder customer experience, showcasing that value, and then really going internal and using those use cases and those examples and those value drivers made a huge difference. It is a cultural change, right? So there is absolutely a change management perspective to this, and it is very important. But we have to have our internal folks on board in order to really create and drive that value for our customers. So it's been a change journey, and what's important, for Ryder is that we're going to continue to go through that. We're going to continue to have a lot of change. The industry is changing, and so we've got to have our folks, our internal folks, really excited about that and on board with that process.
Excellent. Thank you. And next question, it says there was some mention about a deviceless solution. Is that something that you can elaborate on?
I'm not maybe understanding the question completely. Subhash, I think so. You asked this question. Would love to clarify and answer that question offline. I'll see if I can connect with you. But the strategy, deviceless is a bigger concept, and maybe I'm going to need a little bit of clarity from you before I can jump into the details of it. But happy to take it offline.
All right, great. And next one, what's a good first step for someone to improve customer experience?
Talk to your customers. So, again, I'll speak just from the Ryder experience here, but we do a lot of customer advisory boards. It's an important part of our process, listening to our customers. I would say we're industry experts. We think we know all the pain points in the industry, but you always learn something new when you listen to your customer. And so we have overarching enterprise customer advisory boards, and then I also have customer advisory boards specific to the Ridershare product. So really trying to understand their pain points and then being able to address those. And then another piece is you have to be agile. So we actually practice the agile methodology, but this last year, those pain points changed very easily, very significantly overnight. And so still being able to listen to those pain points, understand them, and react to them is important.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's great advice. Talk to your customer, and remember they have choices. So you have to differentiate your service. It's sound advice.
Absolutely. And next question, does Ridershare support last mile?
Ryder has a really robust last mile service. So we do home delivery for large, big, and bulky products. And we also have an e-commerce offering that goes direct to home. And both of those are part of the Ridershare platform, yes.
Great. And is Ridershare like a control tower? And if not, why is it different?
It's an interesting question. We get that a lot. I think for a lot of people in the industry, that's probably the easiest way to visualize it, right? Because we all know what a control tower is and understand what that means. But Ridershare actually goes way beyond a control tower. So when I think of a control tower, I think of just the operations and the piece of the business that I touch and that I own, or that I'm outsourcing to someone else, and they're executing for me, right? So those pieces in my purview in one form or another, and then having one view of it. And it absolutely does that, but it goes beyond that, right? So it enables you to see further upstream or downstream in your supply chain. And then it also, a lot of control towers were more just pure visibility. This allows not only the upstream and downstream view, but everyone to come in and interact over that view, including the end consumer, which normally was not the case. So again, I think it's an easy kind of foundation, but it goes a lot bigger. And I don't know, Ketan, if you agree or disagree.
I 100% agree. And I have a couple of comments to make on that. It's a very important question. And I want to tie it back to what I've been kept telling about, control tower was a construct, which we all know, but it's like, apologize for my candor out here. But if you're thinking control tower, you're thinking flip phones, right? That was the last generation of how you think about things. Now we have to transform into the smartphone era for that experience, for visibility, actionability, customer experience. And that's what Ridershare is. When Kendra says it's a lot more, it's a lot more in terms of what you can do with it, the intuitiveness, the seamlessness, the functionality, and more importantly, the future-proof nature of the architecture, because Ryder will keep launching more services on top of this Ridershare platform. So I would encourage all of you, and I apologize again for my candor, but Control Tower was, the previous generation. We are in the post-COVID world, and we need to embrace the digitized way of experiencing our customers. So Ridershare has given you a good template to think about that.
Great. All right. And next question here. Is the Turvo API integration bidirectional? Can you execute events in Turvo on shipments and orders that update back in TMS or WMS systems, or is it more of a single pane view and collaboration application?
Well, that's a very good question. Let me answer all parts of it because it's a deep question. Is the API bidirectional? Yes, 100%. It's a REST API. You can do full CRUD on any of the entities in Turvo. We are very happy with our enterprise class API and documentation. API documentation is available publicly. I'll send you a link. Two, we have not stopped at REST API. We have synchronous real-time APIs using our webhook technology. So you can even have bidirectional inputs such that when a shipment is updated in Turvo, notify your backend system, which is handling payments. So you can even have that level of API integration. So you don't need to, so Turvo, so it's not just like you're creating a veneer, it is an action platform, which brings together your underlying systems, allowing you to seamlessly interact in the back end, but to all your users, no swivel chairing. They are in one experience. So we invest a lot in our API infrastructure. Thank you for the question, Chris.
All right, perfect. And then we'll take time for one more here. Let's see, can you speak to user adoption and how your team has adopted this new holistic platform?
I'm guessing that's for me. The user adoption, I think I mentioned it earlier. I look at it two ways, just to clarify. I look at internal Ryder user adoption, and then I look at our customer user adoption. And we actually measure both very closely. That's a huge indicator for us. And I can even speak to our goals. So our goals is that 90% of our internally users are using Ridershare effectively and consistently to do their job. And then that 60% of our customers, the folks that we onboard, use it. And I will say we've actually, we're blowing away both of those metrics. So obviously the 90% is a little bit harder to get too much higher than that. But on the customer side, most of our customers are way over that 60%. And when I say the percentage, we're looking at people we onboard versus active users. And active users mean they're in the platform in a pretty significant amount. So we measure both of those very closely. It's for me, it shows me that we've done the right thing, we've built the right product, and we're driving that value with the product. And the way we've achieved that is by being very specific in our persona usage. So we know how Ridershare should benefit you based on your job role, and we train you and roll it out accordingly. And that is really what's driving up the adoption, at least in my opinion. Those are numbers we're very excited about, and I think it speaks to the power of Ridershare and the power of the Turvo product.
It's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, it looks like that is all that we have for today. So we appreciate everyone so much for taking the time to listen in. Thank you to Turvo for partnering with us to bring you today's discussion. And of course, thank you so much to Kendra and Ketan for being here to share your insights with us today. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar tomorrow via the email that you used to register in case you'd like to view it again, if you joined us later, if you just want to share it with your peers and colleagues. We appreciate you being here and hope you'll join us again for another webinar very soon.
Thank you very much, everybody.